One of the things actors want more than anything else in the world is to be a consistently working actor. Many of us diligently sending out our self-tape auditions week in and week out know just how elusive that goal can be. So today, we're going to talk to someone who has used their experience in the entertainment industry, both in front of and behind the camera, to turn acting from an expensive hobby into a career, and they're going to share that wisdom with us. Hello and welcome. I am SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President Ben Whitehair. Thank you all so much for joining us for another SAG-AFTRA program on YouTube. We are joined today by American Sign Language interpreters Maggie Esquiros and Mara Basanti Santamaria. Today's topic centers on 4 key ingredients to being a consistently working actor and is part of SAG-AFTRA's Wisdom of the Working Actor series. I'd like to take this moment to introduce my co-host, SAG-AFTRA National Vice President for Actor Performers, William Charlton. Bill, thank you so much for being here. Bill has been acting consistently for well over 30 plus years. He shot over 250 on-camera commercials and appears regularly on TV. Recent TV and credits include NCIS, Winning Time, Law and Order, SWAT, and Quantum Leap. Film credits include Flags of Our Fathers, The Rum Diary, Get Smart, and The Changeling. In addition to his board service, he has served on multiple commercial and TV theatrical negotiating committees and is known for his extensive, in-depth contract knowledge. Welcome, Bill. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ben. Well, thank you. I'm very excited to be here today and share some of the invaluable experiences I've gained throughout my career as an actor. Acting isn't for the faint of heart, and to the untrained eye, it can appear to many outside the profession that having a successful acting career comes down to just blind luck, being in the right place at the right time. But it takes work to be in the right place at the right time. Luck is actually years of preparation, meeting opportunity. Today's guest will help us further explore how to be prepared with a presentation on 4 key ingredients to being a consistently working actor. Please welcome Jonah Shao, an actress with over 45 film and television show roles in her credits, including pivotal parts in The Flash, SWAT, Raya and the Last Dragon, and Hightown. In addition to her acting duties, Jonah also runs Career Activate, a company she founded that guides actors to get reps and book more work. Jonah, welcome. Good to see you. And let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to be here. So I'll share my screen. I have a presentation. So welcome to the 4 key ingredients to being a consistently working actor. So you're going to leave here with the simple formula for success in the business, the question you need to ask yourself to stand out and get more of the right auditions for you, the best question to add value and start off a professional relationship on a great foot, how to get unspoken feedback on your submission so you can get more agent meetings, and also a quick and easy tip to self-pitch yourself for roles. So you might be thinking, okay, where's this information coming from? So I went from growing up in a trailer park in upstate New York, getting scammed by an agency, and I've been able to be a working actor in TV, film, commercial, and voiceover for many years because I mastered the business side of the industry. And let me tell you, if I can do it, I promise, so can you. So just as there's steps for breaking down audition sides, there's steps and processes for getting amazing opportunities and bookings. Also, I worked in casting, representation, producing, film festival work. So that's where this information comes from. And I've been able to help thousands of actors through Career Activate, from new to Emmy winning, book amazing work, and get great reps. So here's the simple formula for success in the business. It's as simple as the ABCs, which are A-game mentality, business know-how, and craft equals success. If you're strong in all 3 of these areas, I cannot imagine a world in which you aren't wildly successful. So just as there are ingredients to your craft, these are the 4 crucial ingredients in your B, that business know-how. So many of our actors have doubled, tripled, or even 10x the number of auditions they've gotten by strengthening all 4 of these legs of their table of success. So I'm going to give you a rundown of all 4 legs and a tip to help you in each area so you can be getting more auditions right away. So leg 1 is your money-making brand, and marketing materials. So this is designed to really help you stand out in your category so you can dramatically increase how many auditions you get. I love this analogy. We are all in the Olympics of acting. So every Olympian is a world-class athlete, right? Michael Phelps is so athletic, he'd probably be better at basketball than 98% of the population. But I don't think he has a chance of winning a gold medal in, let's say, basketball if he's competing against Olympic basketball players because they specialize in basketball. So the analogy here is every role you book is like winning the gold medal. And as we know, there's hundreds of thousands of talented actors, but far few actors that really focus on specializing. So you want to hone in on your gold medal role, and you want to answer this question. What role would you win the gold medal in? Now, here's some very important branding principles. A confused mind says no. Specificity is not about having like a lot of individual headshots and looks. You need to have a cohesive brand, because a strong cohesive brand is what makes you memorable, as opposed to you saying, hey, look at me, I do everything. So here's an example of that. Our branding expert Landel markets himself as the cerebral ninja, which is his tagline. And I want you to notice how all 4 of these headshots are very specific and different characters and roles, right? But they share this common through line, that cerebral ninja. So he's booked Professor, Proctor, and many other roles in TV under this through line. And he was recently pinned for 3 TV shows in the exact same week. And he's a booking machine. And there's a lot of credit that goes to his really smart and effective cohesive branding. Now, the next leg is networking, where it's about forming genuine relationships that naturally lead to working together. So you can get direct bookings and have someone that's advocating for you when you do audition. So many actors feel a bit icky about networking because it feels like you're using someone. So here's a very important paradigm shift. Rather than focusing on what you can get from someone, focus on helping others achieve their goals. So the more you help other people achieve their goals and dreams, the more people will want to work with you and help you achieve yours. There's a lot of ways to be generous, but here's one of my favorite relationship building questions. So let's say you meet someone at a film festival, or you're just out and about in your town and you want to really connect with this person. You could ask a question like, I'm curious, what's a focus of yours in the next month? Now, when they're answering, I want you to ask yourself, how can I support this person? Is there someone I can connect them with? A resource I can offer? Sometimes they're answering and you will have no idea of how to support them. You'll think, I don't know. So that's where this follow-up question can come in handy, which is you react to whatever they said. So maybe it's like, wow, that's awesome. What's one thing I can do to support you in that? So for instance, our client Liana met one of the most successful movie producers in all of history. And the first 2 questions he asked her were, 1, what's your name? And then, how can I support you? The first 2 things out of his mouth. So no wonder he's as successful as he is today, because he's constantly focusing on how he can help others. And here's a very important networking principle, which is build it before you need it. It's way easier to pitch yourself for, let's say, a role in a project if you already have a good relationship with someone on that production team or the casting director. So here's what our client Tiffany has to share. This business is all about relationships. And many times we miss opportunities because the production team knows someone else's work or other people better than us. By learning how to leverage relationships, she ended up booking a big on a highly anticipated show, and also created momentum in her own producing and writing career. So that's great for all the multi-hyphenates as well. Now, leg 3 is having the right team of reps, and that can open so many doors for you. So Yvonne here was someone who submitted to every rep in LA and barely got any responses and auditions. And she was about to quit acting because she couldn't wait another 10 years for things to hopefully work out, to maybe make money as an actor. So luckily, she decided to give it one more shot, and we really helped her with personalizing her specific target list of reps and also how to use technology to really power her search. So I'm going to share one of these super helpful tools in just a second, walk you through it. She ended up with the right team of reps and is now a series regular and starring in major studio films. Now, one thing to help prepare her was these 22 questions that can make or break your agent meeting. So failing to prepare is preparing to fail, as some of us have heard, right? So here's just some of the questions you should be prepared to answer. Questions like, why did you leave your previous rep? What casting offices know you? What are your career goals? Tell me about yourself. What types of characters do you typically get called in for? What questions do you have for me? So these are just a few of the questions, and you can download all 22 questions if you want at 20agentquestions.com. Now, I get that in this industry, it can feel so frustrating because we don't often get feedback, right? We want them from our auditions, but we rarely get it. And feedback is the breakfast of champions. So one thing we guided Yvonne on how to do is get unspoken feedback on her submissions. So when you do this, you can improve your outreach and get more rep meetings. So let me guide you on exactly how to do that right now. So first, you'll download an email tracking plugin. And here are just two great free options, Mail Alert and Hunter. So they can show you if an email's been opened, how many times it's been opened, if any of your links got clicked. And so it's stealthy individual email tracking. So how do you actually get unspoken feedback to improve your submissions as a result of this feedback? Well, if your email was unopened, the tracker shows that it was not opened, it either means you had an unattractive subject line, like seeking representation, that's easily going to be lost in the shuffle, or your email went to spam. Now, there are many actors, who aren't hearing back from reps, and they just assume it's like, oh, it's my reel. That's what's not working. And they spent all this time and money redoing their reel. And maybe those reps aren't even clicking on the link to their reel. And maybe it's just the subject line or the cover letter that needs work. So if your email was opened, but that rep didn't click any of your links, it probably means your email cover letter wasn't enticing enough. It didn't inspire them to want to click that link and spend more time watching a reel or looking at any of your other links in your email. So by getting unspoken feedback, you know which part of your submission needs work. Now, let's say they opened your email and they clicked your links, but they still didn't reply to you. So either you were too much of a conflict or they weren't a fan of your materials. So that's how you get unspoken feedback so that you can improve your submission each time. Now, the fourth leg is pitching. Now, pitching is designed for you to no longer have to rely on anyone other than yourself to generate auditions. So you can also collaborate with your rep on a pitch for a role. Very important. This must be done extremely selectively. If you're saying that you're perfect for every role that's in your age and ethnicity and category, then it feels like the boy who cried wolf. And so we want to do this extremely selectively. So if you see a role that you're really, really right for, so for instance, your gold medal role, and let's say you're connected with someone that's working on the project, you can let your rep know something like this. Hey, I'm sure you already submitted me for the role of Claire on Dead to Me. So give them credit for doing their job. So it doesn't feel like you're micromanaging them. That's important. Then you can say, I just wanted to share that producer X on the project is a friend of mine from college who's also a fan of my work. So then that might inspire your rep to pick up the phone and do a phone pitch, or to email and do an email pitch. So those are the 4 legs of your table of success, and some easy, simple tools that you can implement right away so you can get more auditions. So thank you guys for being here and for listening to this presentation. Now, if you want more resources to help support you in getting more auditions and bookings, just go to careeractivatefreebie.com, as it has some free actor resources and tips.
Awesome. Jonah, thank you so much for breaking that down and sharing that. I know one of the things that we've connected on over the years is finding the ways to take what can feel like a really overwhelming and nebulous industry and breaking it down into like practical things that you can actually do. And Jonah and Bill, you both have worked a lot. I'm curious what either of you think the biggest mistake people make is when they're deciding to become a full-time actor or creative.
Ooh, I would personally say, in terms of actually getting opportunities, it's relying too much on your reps. I think reps are amazing. I love my team of reps and will never take anything away from them, but I feel like it's cliche, but people always say, like, you know, your agent makes 10%, so you're doing 90% of the work. But often I feel like we assign 90% of the effort to our reps, or we assume they'll do 90% of the work in terms of getting us opportunities. And so I think there's
I
just a lot
couldn't
more
agree.
ways, yeah, to be more
I,
proactive.
yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. When I first started out, I was amazed at the number of people who would say, "Hey, I got an agent," and they'd sit at home. And you'd go, "Great, good for you." You have to be that 90% person. It's, I think I love your presentation about building a network, because I think it's the hardest thing for actors to engage. And I love your suggestions. How can I support you? Things like that. Because I think coming up, for me, the biggest mistake a lot of actors make is not getting themselves into an acting class when they move to a place like LA or New York or Chicago or any area in the world, because that's where your networks start. You get to know people, you build on them. All of a sudden, someone is in something, and you become friends with these people. And that's really how you build a network, is what you said about generosity is awesome, because you want to build friendships, really. People, acquaintanceships. They may not be deep friends, but they're people you can say hi to. I mean, saw someone the other day. Someone was celebrating Brad Pitt, and they'd been in acting class together. So that's friends for life, right? That's friends for life, because you know who they are before they became somebody, before they became successful, or that's why I think people out of Yale do really well, because they've already built in an interconnected network. And I think that's important. So that, to me, is the biggest thing. I agree with the rep thing. And also I think people should get themselves into an acting class.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I love that you also highlighted the relationship building side. Like, one of the best things you can send a potential rep that you want to work with, and also share with your current rep, like I do, is like what I call the connections grid. So it's essentially like a list of your relationships, like, who is this person, how do you know them?
Right.
Because that's really powerful, because now when a rep is thinking about pitching you, they're like, oh, Bill already knows so and so, and so, like, this is going to be easier for me to pitch Bill on this project. So for me, I just put it in a Google Sheet document, and it's super simple. Name of the person, what do they do, who they are, and how we know each other. So for instance, I have a producer friend, David, who is like David, his full name, and then the projects he's produced. And in the third column, I put, we've road tripped together twice. So, like, that shows a different type of relationship. And something else an actor might have, did 4 workshops with this person, and this is what they said about me. So that's like a really powerful thing for you to track, because I think often we get very focused on building new relationships, and we forget to deepen and expand the relationships we already have.
Yeah, one of the things that comes up for me around that I was looking back at the projects that I've booked and noticing that almost, I'd have to do a deeper dive, but I think almost 100% of the guest stars and major films that I booked in some way was supported by a relationship that I had, often with a decision maker, a producer, a director, sometimes casting directors or heads of casting. And in every case, it's before the booking, I had known that person for at least 4 years, and in some cases for like a decade. And I was just sharing this story. I was watching an interview with Bryan Cranston, and he was talking about how Breaking Bad came to be. And it's because Vince Gilligan directed an episode of X-Files 9 years before he had that audition, right? And I'm sure Bryan wasn't thinking, oh yeah, this guest star on X-Files is going to lead to the Emmy-winning performance of my career. And just that like long-term mindset around those pieces. So I love what you both shared around being able to build these things and like, oh yeah, that's what we can do with that 90% of our time. Like, my agents and managers have helped me, tremendously in these things, but it's like, okay, what else do we do? So I love those examples.
Yeah, and if I can just add real quick before you ask your next question, I always think reps, that what you just said, Jonah, is awesome, because I think that reps, you need to remind your reps that you know people. Oh, I know this person. I'm neighbors with this person. I mean, and I saw this breakdown, and we're friendly. We walk our dogs together. I mean, just remind
Yeah.
them that you know me, that you're representing me, and then maybe it's right up the alley. So that's part of the job. That's your job, is I know these people. So tell your rep that you know these people, because how are they supposed to know that you know these people if you don't tell them?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. And you can
absolutely.
build those like just like
Right.
anything else. You can start those relationships online. You can send someone an Instagram message. There's so many ways to start those relationships and then deepen them. Like one of my friends is like he's been a fairly well-known actor for many, many years. At one point, people saw him as like the next Brad Pitt. He didn't quite get to that level, but he's been like a solid working actor for so many years. And he's with very fancy agencies with 3-letter names. We can guess what some of those might be. And to this day, he was like, look, my reps follow up on my relationships. Like,
Mm.
and he's been a working actor for decades and decades with giant credits. And I think if it's still true for him, it's true for all of us, really.
I'm curious for either of you, I think often careers can have seasons and sometimes have low periods. And I'm curious what advice you might have for anyone who's struggling. Maybe they're thinking about giving up. They don't feel like they're working consistently, in a slow season or slow seasons. What advice might you have? And is that something that either of you have ever faced yourselves?
Never. Okay. No, I think it's very common for almost all actors to think about giving up. I know I have several times in my life. I think one thing that I think we have to be careful when we start associating like failure or those type of like ideas with our identity. So for me, the struggle was feeling like, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough, pretty enough, talented enough, smart enough, interesting enough, right? Like just not being enough. And that's a very dangerous path of thinking, and very common too. And so I think one thing I would say is something I remind myself of is, if there's something that you want that you don't have, it just means there's something you don't know. So notice, it doesn't mean you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not whatever enough. It just means there's something you don't know. So maybe it's maybe your acting technique, there's like something you need to adjust in your acting technique to really help your auditions pop more. Maybe it's your branding side, maybe it's another side of, the ABC formula. So I think depersonalizing the quote unquote rejection, or feeling like, and really believing that if someone else can do it, you can too. I think that becomes like immensely important.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think that the hardest thing is, because I've been around a lot longer than the two of you, and I've gone through long periods of time sometimes where there's been no work, auditions but no work. And there are two things that happen. One, you have value that you bring to the table, and that's why think being in class or involved creatively somewhere reaffirms what your approach is, and to not keep changing yourself up, because you get better at what you do. But if you go out and try to change things when you've already been it's a hard balance to find. And I think when some people go through long periods of time where they're not working, and having even a sideline, volunteering, like Ben and I took up our free time and volunteer for the union. It's like
Thank you both.
you spend something to focus, you focus your energies on, so that you're not always focused on this crazy career, which there were periods of time where you're like working all the time. I remember once I was living in New York, and in the span of a week, 2 weeks, I was on vacation up in Cape Cod with my family. I was working on a soap, and in the middle of it all, I booked a commercial. So I was flying back and forth on the plane, working, flying back up, spending days, going back down. I thought to myself, God, if I could live the rest of my life like this, I'd be really happy. Because I was spending time with both my parents and working, and just, learn. It was great. Of course, I think that followed a year of non-work, after two months of just craziness. And how you keep focused and keep engaged in the world around you, you know, going to museums, seeing movies, building your craft, building your business know-how and your knowledge of who's in what. Like that term people always throw out, oh, I don't watch TV. I'm like, why not? Why not? It's your business. Why don't you watch TV, or at least catch up on what people are doing? At least go watch an episode of something, so that you know what it's about. You know what the buzz is about. It might not be your cup of tea, but know what it is. Know who the people are that are involved in it. Just do a little research. So keeping the focus. and even picking up a sideline if you have to, because I know people that are successful actors that also have successful side businesses. So I
Yeah.
never had one. I always wish I did, but you know.
Those are great tips.
Yeah, I love that. And I think to me, what resonates is also making sure that we come back to what you were saying, Bill, of like the reason we're doing it in the first place, right? The creative, the storytelling. I think what's exciting for me is that I think increasingly as performers, we have more and more control. You know, the access, there are fewer gatekeepers. We can produce our own content, write our own things, create our own relationships, start our own film festivals. You know, there's so much access we have to doing the thing that we often care about, right? Which is telling stories or bringing joy to people or, you know, sharing, you know, there's so many stories that have historically been untold or underrepresented, and the opportunities we have for those to get out there and see audiences resonating with those, clamoring for those stories, you know, seeing themselves represented on screen in ways that they never have. So to me, there's something exciting about the amount of control that we have as performers that maybe wasn't always the case. I am curious, any other tools, whether that's classes, workshops, representation, like what are the things that are necessary to have a successful acting career? And do they all need to happen at once?
That's a great question. I think for me, it goes back to that ABC formula, right? The A game mentality plus business know-how plus craft. Now, it can be hard to focus on all three at the same time. I think definitely before going on auditions, like you want to be confident in your craft, you know, so having a strong foundation of those craft ingredients and taking classes that, as Bill mentioned, like inspire you and help you grow as an artist is really important. And then while doing that, for me on the business side, I feel like it's never too early to make friends. So I think that's where the relationship building piece comes, where someone's like, well, Jonah, I don't even have a reel yet. I don't even have headshots. I'm like, great. So you won't have some ulterior motive of like, oh, but like, I'm gonna then send them my reel, because you don't have a reel. You don't have headshots. You literally are there to like make friends. So I always say it's never too early to make a friend, you know? So I think that on the business side, and then in terms of mindset, there's a lot of different actor resources, and you can even like go on YouTube and there's like actor meditations and mindset, and be working on like the mindset issues that might be holding you back from following through. And I think that's really big. If we did everything we said we would do, like all the things we tell ourselves we'll do, I feel like we would be in different places in our lives, most of us.
I think that's true for everybody, regardless of how long you've been around. I think self-knowledge is a big one, and you touched on it too in your gold medal role. I really think it's to know what your casting is, which is hard. I mean, I came out of, you know, I'm classically trained. I went to school. I wanted to do Shakespeare, things like that. I came out of school thinking I could do anything. And I do have a broad range of casting. I can play a serial killer. I can also be funny as all get at. But how am I going to get cast? And over the years, like, because I had a very successful commercial career, you know, and I really, for a long time, I was like, oh, I'm the guy who doesn't get it. He's still trying to catch up with everybody else. And that changed at some point but that's always been an element of what I've been casting in the commercial world and in the TV world. But it's hard to get down to what you play. I mean, what are the strengths that you bring to play that make you unique? And that's where a good class with a good teacher, and there are a lot of good teachers, and there are a lot of not so good teachers. It's hard to, I think you have to ask for advice, but it's you get people to ask you, well, why do you keep casting me? I had a teacher in New York that kept casting me these same roles. I said, why are you casting me? He said, because that's your cast. That's what you're going to work. He said, those are the strengths you bring to play. So I want you to build a repertoire of those strengths. So when you have an audition or a job, you walk in and they're already there because you've worked on these roles and that's why it's not just a TV class. I think sometimes a scene study class is great because you build up a repertoire, you build up an inner knowledge of how things work and how you would approach a certain role. So that to me is is important, is that self-knowledge, and that really, and reevaluating as you age, your roles are going to change, your casting's going to change a little bit. Might be an older version of your younger self, you never know, but you know.
As my white hairs continue to come in, it has adjusted my casting a little bit.
White, let's talk, what's this here?
And
Yeah, I love that. Jonah, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
yeah, no, I think that's so important because something that's also attractive to reps and is just when you know yourself, when you're confident in what you do and what you do well, and what separates you from other actors in your category. And so like with Career Activate, what we see this like 3 circles approach to your branding. So it's the intersection of all 3 of these circles that can really help you discover what is your niche and what is your brand. And those 3 circles are: 1, it's your history. So like your callback history, your booking history, like what have you booked and what seems to really land. So that's circle 1. Circle 2 is how strangers see you. So based on your appearance, your voice, what do people naturally associate you with? Your energy, right? So that's where you can do, like, you can put out a branding survey, or you can do a strangers exercise, where I think the union runs these too, where it's like kind of this typecasting exercise. So that's really valuable. And then the 3rd circle is the roles that inspire you. Like, what are you interested in? Like, what gets you excited to act and be an artist? So the intersection of those 3 areas can really point to a particular like brand. Like for me, I went from playing a lot of party girls. That's how I broke into TV. Lots of different versions of party girls. And then in the recent couple of years, I would say my through line is hard candy. And I even have it in my EPK, my electronic press kit, which are roles that are sweet on the outside, but like tough or strong or badass underneath. So for instance, in Hightown, I played like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of character as Bonnie. And you first see her, she's like super bubbly and like, you know, sweet. And then she is smart and tough and will do anything to protect her daughter, you know. And then in Raya and the Last Dragon, you first see my character as just like really sweet, befriending Raya. We're going to be best friends. And then I backstab her and I cause her to lose faith in the world. And then in The Flash, my role was this like, you know, a charismatic woman who was like the Robin Hood, trying to steal from the rich to give to the poor. So she had this like really empowering mission, but she did it in a way that was not legal. So like those are 3 examples of like this through line of hard candy. And that's really helped when you have that through line or that tagline. It helps you lean into that when it comes to auditioning too. I will literally pick up sides like I'm doing right after this. And I'm like, can I bring hard candy into this? Like, how can I bring myself more fully and what makes me stand out? And as long as it supports the writer's intention, I'm like, I'm going to go for it.
What I really appreciate about what both of you are saying around this is, I think when I first started as an actor, it was like, oh, my branding is like a job title. Like, oh, I'm either like a cop or a nurse or a doctor. And what I realized was like, there's probably a cop on like every show. And those can be very different. Like a cop on Modern Family is very different than a cop on NCIS, or, you know what I mean? Like that's so different. And so taking myself out of the mindset of like, well, I play this age and this job title. It's like, no, what you both are saying is like that essence of you and what is the energy. And maybe that lends itself to certain professions or other pieces. But to me, that was really exciting because it felt more in tune with myself as an artist. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm playing characters who have authority, or I tend to play the man. You know, someone who's in a position of leadership and authority, and generally the good guy, and generally intellectual, as opposed like soldiers, right? You'll have a TV show that's all soldiers. So if you're like, well, my branding is soldier, it's like, okay, well, we now have a TV show that's set in war. What type of soldier? Like, what is your rank? What is your background? What is, you know, like there's so much range in there. And for me, that was very freeing because it was like, oh, there's actually that specificity actually gave me more opportunity. It didn't feel like I was being pigeonholed.
Yeah, I think that essence is important. You know, it like invariably we all get auditions that just don't they don't fit right. So I mean, and it's rare that I turn anything down. I just think I can always bring something to play or try to bring something to play. Like, and instead of trying to do what you think they want, you have to bring you to what that essence, and that essence, it's like they say, you know, 80 people can play Hamlet. No one is going to play Hamlet the same way.
Mhm.
They're just not, because you come with different sensibilities, different senses of rhythm, different sense of pace. So how you bring that into it, it's a hard one, I think, for actors to really be, you know, really be aware of how they come across and really grasp that thing, because, you know, that's your goal, is that whoever you are.
Mhm.
I am curious, any final thoughts, wisdom, advice to leave our viewers with?
Something I remind myself in tough times too is breakdowns lead to breakthroughs, and how often sometimes we quit like 4 feet from gold, you know, that analogy. And that at any point, just as like life can in a negative way sometimes like surprise us with like, oh shoot, like my agent just dropped me, this happened, this happened. And that can be crushing. Like just as that can happen in an instant, the opposite can happen too. The best thing could happen. You could, as Bill said, like, you know, you booked multiple jobs in like span of like a week or two, you know, and how often like there's we're really meant to grow through things. You know, we go through things so we can grow through those things, should we choose to. So I think perseverance looks like different things to different people, but that trust is really important. Like moving from, if you're in a really place and you're like, this is impossible, okay, so maybe it's a stretch to be like, yes, I'm going to be successful, like maybe that's a leap. So maybe we go from this is impossible to, okay, it's possible. And then when we're in possibility, maybe going from possibility to probability. Like, okay, this can probably happen. And ideally stepping from probability to inevitability. So, you know, I think that type of gradual mindset shift can help you sustain like a lot of the ups and downs, and knowing that you're inevitably going to be successful and you're inevitably going to achieve your goals. I think that that's something that can be really powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I think perseverance is the word that always comes to mind. And I think you touched on that. Is perseverance, surrounding yourself with family, friends, loved ones, people that you have a life that's not just about you being an actor. Perception, you know, we perceive highly successful people of working all the time, and sometimes they're only doing a movie every other year. They're not working all the time. They're working on stuff, they're reading scripts, they're working on stuff, but they're actually not in production. Every time I hear someone say, "Oh man, you work all the time," I'm like, God, I've worked 4 times in the last year and a half. Why do you think I work all the time? Because I popped up on TV all at the same time in the span of 2 months. And they go, "Wow, you work all the time," which is nice. It's all relative, and just keep living a life, a full life, you know, engaging in the world around you, because I think that that's important, and working on your craft and working on your cultural and spiritual knowledge, really, how whatever that means to you. So.
Mm,
That's
I
it
love that.
for me.
Beautiful. Well, Bill, Jonah, thank you both so much for being here. So appreciate you sharing your wisdom as working actors with our community here. So deeply appreciate your time and all that both of you do to support our community. As a reminder to everyone watching, this presentation is available as a replay on our YouTube channel, along with an entire library of programs on important and informative topics for our members and community. And on behalf of the entire team here at SAG-AFTRA, I want to thank you so much for watching, and a special shout out to our regular viewers who've been tuning in each week for our PTEOE presentations. If you have a topic that you'd like to see us cover, shoot us an email, pteoe@sagaftra.org. And before you go, if you haven't already, subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel and go ahead and share this video and any others with a friend, someone you think might find it interesting. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, we'll see you soon.